Well, Nick had to step out for a few minutes, so I thought I'd take just a little time here to give you an overview of what ventriloquism is and what it is that you need to get started. You know, a lot of people think that to be a ventriloquist, you either have to have been born with some kind of a special talent or have a trick throat or something, and the truth is that's not the case. Almost anybody can learn ventriloquism. There's really only two requirements. Number one, you need to have a normal speaking voice, and number two, which unfortunately is the reason most people don't learn ventriloquism, is you need to have a willingness to practice a few minutes a day to learn how to do it. Now, I'd like to mention here that when you first start practicing your ventriloquism, you'll want to limit those practice times to between 5 and 10 minutes. You don't want to strain your throat or your voice in any way. And as you practice more and more, you'll be able to make that practice time longer. But again, when you first start out, please limit your practice times to between 5 and 10 minutes. Ventriloquism is just an illusion. The same way in which a magician uses misdirection to trick your eyes by using a magic wand or a silk scarf or a puff of smoke, a ventriloquist uses misdirection to trick your ears. By moving your puppet around and opening and closing its mouth while you're speaking in your ventriloquist voice without moving your lips, the illusion is created that the sound is coming from inside of the puppet. And the reason this can be done is because your sense of hearing is very easy to trick. Take, for example, I'm sure you've heard a jet airplane flying over your house, or maybe a siren driving through your neighborhood, and you go outside and you look around and you can hear the jet and you can hear the siren, but you can't tell where the sound's coming from. It's not until you actually see the plane or see the car that your brain makes the connection that that must be where the sound's coming from. Well, that's how ventriloquism works. When you open and close the puppet's mouth and are carrying on the conversation in your ventriloquist voice without moving your lips, the illusion is created that the sound is coming from the puppet. So, this may be a surprise to you, but the secret to ventriloquism is that you don't really throw your voice anywhere. The sound always comes from you. It doesn't come from the puppet ever. And to you as the ventriloquist, it's always going to sound like the voice is coming from you. It'll never sound like it's coming from the puppet. But you have to remember that the audience is seeing the whole illusion of you working the puppet and speaking without moving your lips. And to them, it will sound like the voice is coming from inside of your figure. So Lee, what do I need to get started? Well, let me give you a couple of ideas here. First of all, I would recommend that you do not rush right out and purchase an expensive ventriloquist figure. They can cost hundreds of dollars, and I really feel that to start out you can learn just fine by using an inexpensive hand puppet. And I think what you'll find is that as you practice more and more, you're going to come up with some voices that are very easy for you to do, and a lot of times it's easier to match the puppet to the voice once you have it than it is to run out and spend a lot of money on a puppet and then try to come up with some kind of a voice to use with that puppet. So to start out with, just go down to your local toy store and just pick up a hand puppet, kind of like this. All you need to do is make sure that the mouth opens and closes and that you can turn the head around, and this gives you something fun to bounce your lines off of while you're practicing, and this works out great, and it's a very inexpensive way to go. So just get an inexpensive hand puppet to start out with. Now, having said that, there's going to be some of you that are probably going to say, well, you know, Lee, I'm trying to be a professional ventriloquist, and I really need to have a little boy or little girl figure to reach my full potential as I'm learning ventriloquism. So if you're one of those people and really feel that you need to have a little boy or little girl ventriloquist figure, then let me give you a couple of ideas here as well. First of all, I would recommend that you do not purchase one of these toy stuffed body doll ventriloquist toys. And the reason is that yes, the mouth does work when you pull the string, but there's no way to turn the head while you're working the mouth, and in my opinion the turning head is almost as important as the opening and closing mouth in creating that illusion of the ventriloquism. So I really would not purchase one of these stuffed toy dolls. However, there is an alternative. There are several companies that have taken these stuffed body dolls and they have rebuilt them, and what they do is they hollow the body out and they'll put the head on a control stick, and you can turn the head around with the stick and then open and close the mouth with a little lever mounted on that stick, and those are very realistic looking as a ventriloquist puppet, and they're pretty inexpensive. So if you really feel you have to have a little boy or little girl figure to start out with, that might be a way to go. You'll also need a mirror so you can see how your lip movement is doing while you're practicing. If you can get your hands on a video camera or a camcorder, that's a great tool. You can videotape yourself practicing and then play that back, and it'll really give you a good idea of any areas that you may need some additional work in. And that's it for this segment. Coming up next, yes, I'm sure you can't wait, it's exercises. Isn't that terrific? Well, we're going to keep it really short, but I wanted to give you a couple of basic breathing, lip, and tongue exercises to do just to help increase your stamina for when you're talking with your figure, as well as to help you speak in your ventriloquist voice more clearly. And this will be a good groundwork for you so that when we get to the real ventriloquism part of the video, it'll be that much easier for you. And that's coming right up, and we'll be back in just a second.